Graham Platner.
Hey guys, welcome to the New York Times. On today's episode, we are going to be doing a full breakdown of the Graham Platner explosion that has happened over the past couple of days. Plus, Rahm Emanuel is making a little bit of news, telling the Israelis that maybe it's about time we start being brothers instead of big brother, little brother. Maybe some other stories as we go along. And today I am joined by Sami Sage from Betches. This is the New York Times. Trying to get that
Hello
earworm stuck.
there.
How's it going?
I am full of thoughts this morning after
Yes.
watching that 11-minute video.
Crazy. I've never seen one of those take that long. Usually when you resign from an office like that, it's like a minute and a half. In and out. I'm sorry I texted those children. I shouldn't have tweeted all that racist stuff. You know, thank you to my wife. Thank you to the voters. I'm out. Never have I seen an 11-minute crazy ass breakdown like that.
It was too long for TikTok. TikTok would make you put that in too.
That's so funny. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Who let him do that? Here, okay. We're going to go into a full timeline of this because this is like one of the craziest, most foreseeable outcomes to a story of all time. But before we talk about that, there's something I want to give Graham Platner a little bit of, I feel bad for him a little bit. And this is why, because and he's a bad person, terrible human being. In the video where he resigns, he very clearly says, I didn't want this. I wasn't planning on getting involved. I had no interest in doing politics. I'm not a public guy. I was approached. I was dragged into this. And I will say, I don't think that he didn't want this. He got talked into trying to become a senator by people that we now know are moronic, overeducated, vocal fry, whatever's from Yale. But I'm curious, do you feel bad for him at all that he was dragged into this thing?
At this point, no. But maybe a long time ago, like had this happened months, you know what? No, I really don't. Because here's the thing. He is conscious of what he's doing, and his infractions are so global and ubiquitous to his character that it belies like a lack of self-awareness, or either you are lying entirely. Because either he like doesn't see himself, like his standard for like acceptable behavior is so calibrated wrong that it's like you could have a woman telling you that you did something wrong, like you know, had sex with her without her consent, and you have like readjusted this in your mind to be acceptable, and like you're going through the campaign being like, well, I know there's nothing coming out because I've lived my life. I was there the whole time. I'm like, yeah, that's how lives work.
Yeah. You know, and he had to at least know that these were great, because if she broke up with him, that means that he had to kind of like ask the question. Because she claims that he woke up the next day and was like, what happened? And she's like, get out. Like, I assume that at some point he tried to get an explanation. He knew. He all knew. All right.
Also, Lindsay Fifield, who in her CNN interview said that he lied about being blackout, and then he would reveal that he didn't lie. And she was the one who he would remove condoms from. So it's like you have two women. There's other women who have not put their name or have not come forward. And you have the sexting of the ton of people after he said he's changed early in his marriage. He's barely been married for 3 years. Yeah. I'm sorry, but isn't the beginning of the marriage, famously known as the honeymoon period, supposed to be the easiest time to be married? Just like nothing this man says makes any sense. He's so unaccountable consistently. And I say this as someone who, like, when he first came on the scene, I was excited about him. I was like, this guy like is really captivating people. I like what he's saying, minus like the obsession over AIPAC. But at that point, it wasn't like only AIPAC, you know?
Yeah.
And then like all this stuff comes out, and it's like you become acquainted with someone. It's like when you meet someone, you like them until you learn about them.
I mean, his explanation, what has happened to with him has made complete sense to me the entire time. Like everything that came out of his defense every single time, even the video today was like kind of shocking, but makes complete sense. Like he answered like an edgelord would. Like he answered like he was talking to like Reddit and making sure that his 4chan subscription followers, didn't peel off at a certain point. I want to run through the timeline of this. This is what I want because this timeline, and correct me if I'm wrong on this timeline, is psychotic. And to me, what happens is Graham Platner is kind of like introduced to us. Immediately, there does come out some Reddit stuff, and everyone, or some tweets, or he makes like racist comments, specifically about black people. He makes some weird, like homophobic comments or whatever.
Know if it was immediate. Like he had time for people to get attached to him.
That's how I found out about him.
About him.
Yeah, about him.
Right. So, like, because you're not in Maine and you're not paying attention to this, and I'm even like I'm paying attention to this because people are looking for the right candidate. And I'm like, oh, people like him. He's good. Like he had enough goodwill at that point for the Reddit stuff to not totally destroy him.
So I knew that by the time. Once again, I'm not like a political insider or whatever. Like I follow casually enough or, anything.
Yeah.
I remember that by the time that the stuff did come out, it did seem like it was like, okay, that's just who he is, and he clearly would only have been able to get away with that if there was some big movement behind him. And the way that he was able to kind of push through it was by the fact that there was an exciting movement behind him where he did have the credence to go out there at that point and just say like, hey, I'm not perfect. I was, I'm a military vet. I shouldn't have said that stuff online. I was very normal. I had a very regular, normal military, military vet existence on the internet is what I would say.
I think we need to like let people look. No one's listening to these two coastal elites. At least we're aware that we are such, though. But like this idea that if you're a normal person, you act like Graham Platner is so toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like just because I know a lot of people who never considered running for office never will, and they would never have anything on their ledger close to what Graham Platner has done.
But to that point, we only knew about the post. We only knew that it was posts. We start getting told about these posts.
That was like last fall.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Then the Nazi tattoo comes out, and
that was October.
So we just knew. I mean, it was just wafting. You know what it is that there was a trickle of little tweets and stuff that would come out every once in a while. Because once again, to this point, it wasn't enough to disqualify him, and because it wasn't enough to disqualify him, there's no reason to actually do anything. Also, I'm sure opposition research is happening at this point. I'm sure Susan Collins is starting to figure out about this stuff. People behind the scenes.
Mills. So before Susan Collins wasn't even she's not even. She still is like.
She's pissed off that it came out.
Yeah.
She's annoyed that it didn't wait until next Monday to have the stuff drop. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Like Janet, it was Janet Mills. First of all, Janet Mills didn't even want to run for governor. That's the thing. It was like the DSCC or whatever was trying to draft her because they thought, oh, there's no one else who can run statewide and win because she's already done that. She's the governor. And so it became almost like because he had her as a foil, his support could consolidate more. And because so much of it became about like how terrible she is. And it's like, she's just standard. Like you can be excited about him without having to like despise her, especially if you don't even live in Maine and no. So
but the only way for that archetype and his fan base to really win and to get traction is to get angry. And the things about Janet Mills, she's basically Joe Biden in Maine. She's old. She's very moderate, centrist. All of the things that right now there is a movement amongst the the hard left, uber left side to get angry at this specific archetype of old moderates, old normies in Maine.
Honestly, I don't even moderate's like a meaningless word that just means not very left.
Crazy. At this point. Unfortunately, Janet Mills doesn't have a Reddit history because she doesn't know what Reddit is. So that is, where we're at. And by the way, shout out frequently to my mom. I tell her all the time, I'm like, thank God you don't know the internet because you'd be honestly, you'd probably be the senator right now. It's gonna happen. So okay, so we start to there's a trickle out, and then all of a sudden we get the Nazi tattoo. Nazi tattoo comes out, and no one on his side, no one on the opposition, and no one on his personal team knew about this Totenkopf that comes out. We're
I didn't even
then
know what that
told
was, by the way. And my grandparents were in Auschwitz.
it is a pretty deep cut.
It
It was
is.
kind of funny. It was kind of funny getting annoyed at it and then being like, okay, what is this? And then reading it and go like, oh, that is actually very bad.
Well, you know what's like kind of annoying is that like our lack of full knowledge, like the lack of deep knowledge that he clearly had, which he
Oh, he
wanted to
knows about.
pretend was our lack of full knowledge, is like, no, you're actually very aware of what you got. But for a minute, I
Yeah.
was like willing to believe, willing to. Okay, there's also the fact that like, do you remember how the Nazi tattoo thing came out?
It was a wedding video.
Yes.
And then he also
the wedding video.
Yeah.
The point of revealing the wedding video was not the tattoo. It was like him being very drunk, and he goes on Crooked to like essentially preempt this coming out. And then people notice the tattoo, which again, I'm like, how would you ever, like, I never would have, his whole family, as he said, was around it, didn't know. And it's like, that was, so it's, I'm still like stuck on how they laundered him through that moment.
But here's the thing: is that like when he goes to Pod Save or whatever, and he's with the wedding video where he's like drunk, and it's, we've all seen the picture of it. When that is coming out, how did no one on his team screenshot the tattoo? How did no one on his team at that point also go like, let me see all the tattoos?
They knew it was there, and they were using
100%.
Because they were using the Crooked
Wait, you're spoiling.
video.
You're spoiling. Wait. There's a spoiler because
okay.
I think that the reason why we know that he lied about it is later on when we saw that his team. Sorry, I think the reason why we know that his team lied about it was because later on, when that interview with the vocal fry dude, the vetting process, he's asked about it, and then the girl next to him looks to him like, yeah, and then he goes, no, and what that means is that he knew, but didn't think it was a bad deal. But I want to get to that because
maybe
that's part of like a
get it through the vetting. That's what I'm like. Okay, you're asking about the vetting. It's like, well, maybe they knew from another way. Like, why does it matter if the firm turned it up or if they found out a different way? Because it wasn't just that revealed that. It was the New York Times article where they're like, yeah, he knew it was a Totenkopf. He called it that.
So then we get the Nazi, because in the timeline of this, we get the Nazi tattoo, and we're told that he didn't know about it. Then everyone's like, it was on there for 20 years, which to me meant one of two things. One, either he really actually didn't know. Either he was lying. Okay, that was the first thing. Is he lying? That's number one. Number two, let's play that he didn't know what it was. That means that you're willing to believe that the guy who was running for Senate had a literal Nazi tattoo on his chest for 20 years, never thought to look up it, knew that his friends and where he's from have a history of maybe glorifying the Nazi regime or very like inside baseball parts of the Nazi. He has a Kick account. We know what parts of the internet that he is on. So there's no way. So if you want to believe that he actually didn't know, you also have to think that this guy was so fucking stupid that at no point did he think I should go and get this thing investigated. Both of which, either he's lying or was so dumb to know, both of which are disqualifying facts. But we're told that neither of those are disqualifying. In fact, we're told by people in his camp who like him, who are annoyed at this Nazi thing and see this Nazi thing and think that he is lying. Even they're at this point saying like, yeah, I don't know if I buy it, but like, he's the guy. So the Jews are now told to just shut up and take it. Then over time, after we're told about the Nazi stuff, and after we kind of go through the societal reckoning of the Nazi stuff, where the Jews are told, you don't get to really have a say in this. Sorry, no one's perfect. He apologized or didn't apologize. He did whatever. Then
didn't know he covered it, which in my mind, first of all, I've never seen a tattoo, as a Jew, not getting many tattoos, because
it's not our thing.
Told about the cemeteries. Not even true. But
it's almost like Graham doesn't even. It's like he doesn't even worry about not being able to be buried in my grandmother's cemetery.
No, but a tattoo like that's like so much ink. It gets like really red. If you covered it up like that day, it would have been like swollen. It would have like needed a lot of aftercare. Mm-hmm. It looks like it literally looked like it was like just a peeled piece of something.
Yeah. It was so once again, it was so painfully obvious that they knew that this was a problem before. And then so then we find out that he covers it up. And that's the thing that we're told now, is that he apologized, he covered it up, and just to like accept it. Then we start to get okay, and then also news starts to come out about Morris Katz and how Morris Katz had started to there was a story that he had yelled at or he had like harassed an early staffer in the Graham Platner universe, and had been paid out. There was it was like a $15,000 job is what I think the number was. But basically, because she wanted to leave because she saw this stuff was coming. And
Genevieve McDonald.
I don't know her. Was this who it was?
Genevieve, who basically right in the beginning around October, she was like, no, they're lying. They know it's real. And everyone just like piles on her.
Yeah. And that starts to kind of trickle out also around this time that like even this was Morris Katz, by the way, is an asshole. He's the guy, Morris Katz, if you don't know, he's the political guy that I don't even know what his consultant he found. Yeah, non-vocal fry guy. He's the Mamdani
vocal
guy.
fry, just blonde.
Yeah, but his vocal fry does not compare. If there's vocal fry being talked in this, his vocal fry is just annoying.
It's look, he's a 27-year-old named Morris. I think this should,
That's accurate. He's the most 27-year-old named Morris to ever exist. Out of all the 27-year-olds named Morris.
What kills me about all this is that like you built this whole thing to be against coastal elites, the elites. And I'm a coastal elite, I run with the best of them. But like, I know that. And I'm not going to pretend that like I know what people in Maine want. And I'm not going to like beat it down their throats and then pretend like I'm part of the working man. Like I'm just like, you guys are all these like true sheltered kids. Like you're so young in the grand scheme of life and so isolated. And like you went to these Ivy League schools and like your parents have money. And it's like, I don't understand. How do you actually say to constituents' faces, like, you are one of them?
Yeah. I mean, also, this is the AIPAC of it all, is that he sees being able to be so against AIPAC is a privilege, because that means that you looked at the state of Maine and said, you know what the biggest problem is with Bangor, Maine? Gaza.
Israel.
Yeah, exactly. So he also is running his entire campaign with AIPAC first, genocide, which is like, fine. I don't have an issue being against AIPAC. I don't have an issue with like being against what's happening in Israel. You have every right to be. But if your entire political branding is just about that, which I'm sorry, it was about Israel Epstein class. It was Jew. It was every time he spoke, it was him not saying the word Jew while saying every other fucking word attached to Jew. And Morris Katz is the person that has kind of orchestrated this strategy of getting white college-educated voters to get really excited about one issue, Israel, and then finding ways in the primaries to knock out incumbents by making Israel the entire thing, because he knows that the only way that he's going to get white college-age voters to the voting booth is to just Israel, 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 Israel. And by this point, what was so crazy about the tattoo thing is that you have the Jews saying it's a problem, he's got a Nazi tattoo, and the answer back being said, yeah, but he's against AIPAC. As if...
Well, you also had, here's the other piece. You also had black people saying this too, who were like, we don't trust him. And they're like, you guys are establishment. Meh. Jim Clymer. Yeah. Like, you're blaming it on like the fact that they're devoted members of the Democratic Party. Like, I'm sorry.
Crazy. And they're going to lose blacks and Jews. These are two of the biggest... I'm going to be honest.
It's funny that's like when he says like the I just want to be like, you wish you could just say blacks and Jews. You wish.
It's crazy.
And women.
It's crazy. It was just the entire time he's speaking in that non-apology video, whatever he wants to call it. You can just tell the entire time he recorded something earlier and they were like, okay, Graham, you're going to go re-record that and you're not going to mention women. All right.
Okay. But here's the thing. Does he realize he could have like put cuts in it?
So
he
funny.
Had so many pauses, so many like,
yeah.
It's like he wanted to show. It's like you are a child trying to like self-regulate and time out. Like you see how he got here. I can like see his whole life flash before my eyes.
I also want to say, if I'm trying to present that I am not secretly violent, maybe I wouldn't do a video where half the time I have to take a break because I'm about to strangle the camera in front of me. Like, he looks violent that part. He looks like he literally wants to fucking kill, like, someone in it. In the parts where he literally goes,
right?
like
You
he
can
has
chop
breathing
that
moments.
out. You
Get
are
it out of
editing.
there,
You can
man.
chop that out. Perfectly acceptable. But he didn't on purpose, because this is a man who repeatedly, according to reporting, used to say that if someone broke into his house, he would rape them but not in a gay way.
Not in a gay way.
Because it's
Sami,
about
okay.
power.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, you are doing this on purpose. You know that this riles people up, that it makes people angry on your behalf. And he knows this is his like one chance at not filing the paperwork and letting the deadline pass, being like, actually, I'm staying.
That's great. I mean, we'll talk about it. I mean, I want to go back, but we were texting yesterday, and we had the same thought where, like, before he dropped out, there's a 5 to 10% chance that he was staying in. And like, that's crazy. Listen, has he filed paperwork officially yet?
Not that I've heard of. So
I still think,
it's only been like 12 hours since the video.
It should have been an immediate. Yeah, I'm curious tomorrow. Okay, I'm curious how to say it. But
okay, I'll tell you why I'm skeptical. They sent a survey that was like, send us like do you have a message for the Democratic Party and do you have a message for Graham? And the intro to that, like asking people for advice, for input, doesn't mention anything about replacement, dropping out. It's just like, tell us what you think. So I'm on application watch or whatever.
I'll go 5% on this. 5% chance he doesn't drop. Same. I'd do that. I'd take those odds. 100%.
Same.
We talked about how there was the stuff that came out that about the girlfriend. About the roughing up stuff, about roughing up his girlfriend. To this point in the story, we have not had that. Now we have that because New York Times comes out with an article at this point in the Graham Platner timeline where it says, that they talked to a bunch of his exes. And a bunch of them said, he was nice, but occasionally they would go to dark places. The alcohol abuse is like brought up. And there's a story that is in there about, a girl who says that, he had been physical with her, that he had tried to rip her out of a car at one point. There's a story about how they got in a fight one night and he put her arm behind her back, put her in a room, and then like locked the room essentially and kept her in there until she calmed down. So basically held someone against their will. So we get that out. That article comes out. And the initial reaction from everyone who has now seen that he has this physical abuse thing is, that's bad, but it isn't rape. And the only reason this happens is because she's a Republican, because she works for the opposition in some capacity, and immediately, I think it was a Heritage Foundation or whatever, and immediately, instead of doing the whole, let's see this out, let's do our due diligence, it is, we cannot believe this report because it is by the Heritage Foundation. And
he dated her. Your special boy dated her.
It was for 2 or 3 years, right? It was like a long relationship.
2 years.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So then this conversation happens about, we got the Nazi tattoo, we got the racist tweets, now we got this roughing up stuff. And this to me is the biggest part of this story. The lady, I think it was Fifield, is that her name, went out and she goes on Twitter and she says that this story is actually not as bad as what she told the New York Times. And that what she told the New York Times was worse. And not only that, she basically implies that there's evidence and there's more stuff out there that could leak. And at that point, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders call Graham Platner to DC, and they ask Graham Platner, is there more stuff that's going to come out? And he says no. He's also, I'm sure, talking to the Pod Save guys, talking to every other, Hassan, talking to every person, and they keep on saying the same thing. Is anything going to come out? And he says no across the board. And they just fucking believe him. They believe him.
Okay, I will say there was one interview he did with Chris Hayes where like Chris Hayes clearly like didn't believe him, and he was basically like, are your dick pics gonna come out or what?
Yeah.
He didn't say that. He's like, are there any pictures of you?
It's a pretty good impression. Pretty good Chris Hayes impression.
Totally. And it's, like people knew. The other thing that I think happened there, why the conversation immediately went to like, well, it wasn't rape, is because everyone thought that the rape allegation would be in that article. So it was like when it wasn't, he was really obviously relieved. And then like everyone's like, okay, well, what they're describing in great detail is domestic violence, but they're not calling it that. And you had to like read between the lines and make a judgment for yourself, something that these people who have been supporting him are famously very good at doing.
No, I don't know if I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, but like in the article, it describes he put a hand behind her, put her in a room and held her against her will. That's disqualifying.
I know what it's describing, but it doesn't say
disqualifying.
He did domestic violence. He did that. You know what I mean? It doesn't say
Is that not?
It is, of course, but it doesn't say the words. Like, it doesn't say the words domestic violence. It doesn't say the words rape. It doesn't say assault. Like, it just describes his actions. And then you have to be like, identify it as that.
I remember that when this happened, there was also this, there was a report. Once again, I say report. I think there was a verified Twitter account that had whatever. I don't remember who said this, but someone brought up that they were going to release the article the day before, but lawyers got involved to dampen it. And that did have the night before the article had went out. So we also did know that that it was a lawyered up version of whatever.
Oh, I can tell you with this the most recent article, you know how Cheyenne Hunt from Reckoning Action has been speaking to these survivors. She worked with like this started with the Swalwell people, and basically she was one of the only people who rescinded her endorsement of him after the New York Times thing, because she was like, that is abuse, that is domestic violence. I know what I'm reading, but everyone else was like, are you sure there's nothing else? And it's like, oh my God, you just all have to like use some seichel, as they say.
Yeah, I've been saying nacha genius, which just means genius in Yiddish. But it's accurate. I still don't understand how that wasn't enough. I don't understand. We were told over and over and over.
Cost fallacy. It's sunk cost fallacy at that point. It's like,
crazy.
We've supported him this long, and they also had like focus group data, which is like Maine people will actually draw the line at sexual assault, because there's also this like very anti-outsider mindset in Maine. So it was like when it felt like all these DC Beltway people are like trying to take down our son of Maine, Graham, like we forgive him, you know, it just really like was too much. And then it came out, he has lost support.
Yeah. And then we spend a couple of weeks. So news comes out from the New York Times article comes out. Then, you're starting to get the tweets from some of the accusers, and it is just a ticking time. It is just like, when is this going to happen? When's it going to happen? And then the primary happens, and he ends up winning it, and becomes the nominee. And at that point, there is this moment of like, definitely relief. I would say moment of relief, but definitely this moment of like, okay, we passed this. Like, he's it. This is what's going to happen.
What are you going to do at this point?
From that side. But then everyone else is saying, what are you talking about? We're about to get 5 months of little drops over and over and over. Everyone thought the same thing. Everyone thought that it was inevitable that we were just going to spend the upcoming election just getting little bit of like, we're just going to find more and more out. Like that, we had whatever. Everyone knew this, but no one was willing to say out loud that whatever they didn't put into the New York Times article, Susan Collins and the Republicans have. So it was just like, we're waiting for something else to drop, and then it drops.
They have so much more than what was in the New York Times. Like,
what's
crazy? Account. I'm sure he has sent so many dick pics. Like, also, if you abuse one woman and you're sexting dozens of others, like, that's not. You do this a lot. Like, this is how you treat women. It's how you treat people.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I forgot about that element, but when the Reddit stuff was leaking in chapter 1 of this story, there was also the thing about how he had been texting other women and how he wasn't like, he just wasn't a good husband. And he admitted to that. And I do, out of all the things that he did, it seemed to be like that was the least offensive thing, that came out there. But there was an element to it also, was that we knew he was at least like not the best dude at times.
His wife came out with a video.
Yeah.
And
God, that was
to me,
weird.
I was like, oh, that is like a hostage video. That's
yeah.
Look, I understand like not everyone has the same like level of like extreme like pattern recognition with this kind of thing. But like you gotta see someone who gets a Nazi tattoo and does nothing about it for 20 years, that's not his one infraction in life.
Yeah.
And you have to put things together.
And I will say now is not a bad time to talk about how that Washington Post interview comes out right now in this story.
Oh, Wall Street
where
Journal.
Washington Post interviews the people that were in charge of selecting and finding him.
It was the Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. Yeah. But that starts to trend. That like now all of a sudden we're getting like a little bit of like of how this process happened, because everyone's kind of angry at this point at like the fact that we've been forced, that this guy's been ironically forced on us at this point, and we start to see who is in charge of how we got here. And this video comes out, and it's the two people that found him, and the vocal fry on the dude is it's like we got to do, and then they
people that Mainers want. Mainers don't want background people.
I
want to say it is important that there was a poll that came out maybe a week or two ago that had him tied with Susan Collins, so it was like, oh, like this, he should really be polling like well above her, because it's just like built in.
I saw that he was dipping, he was 3 under her at certain points.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
like
also
on average,
this leaked because of a Democrat.
Yeah, they were like, people realize this isn't going to work, and I think that's why they were like ready to drop him immediately. Also, because like it wasn't a surprise. They had all this time between like the New York Times non-rape inclusion to now to be like, okay, we have to like, if it happens, he's out.
This very clearly came from a Democrat. It's actually a question why it took this long. I'm curious why it didn't leak before the primary if they knew that it was coming out. But once again, it probably didn't happen because none of these people wanted to say anything. Like, I think that everyone thought this was just going to go away. At the end of the day, everyone thought that they could just kick the can down the curb and just hope that once he's the Democrat nominee, nothing we can do. Once we're in, we've already spent all this money. I actually heard that there's a complaint happening from someone spent $9 million on opposition research on Graham Platner and is now annoyed that they have to redo the opposition research for the next person from the Republican side, which is that's a whole other conversation to be had.
$9 million?
But
do you realize how much information that means he was able to get? Because you're paying for like the labor and the hours of people going to go to interview people. What do you have 9 minutes? That's like the Epstein files of Oppo research.
Yeah, that's the Republican side was ready. They were going to bury it. We were going to get 5 months of just, and you know what? At the end of the day,
at this point,
if the Democrats were going to lose this seat anyways, then I do think that they should just let him run and then make him sit in this as a punishment.
Honestly, that is my that will except it's a punishment for all of us.
It's a punishment for all of us, but maybe we've deserved it, Sammy. Maybe we've earned this. Maybe that's it.
I'm never going to get past this. People who laundered his reputation because they wanted to be the cool kids.
So true. So much of this feels, it's this, he's not DSA, but there's that DSA vetting machine that is why we got him, that clearly is just a bunch of fucking Ivy League dorks finally feeling cool in front of people of color who are not on their college campuses. They feel like they're going into the Bronx and they feel like they're going into Harlem and being representatives and like friends with these groups where they don't fit in. And the same thing with like Morris Katz.
Go to Teach for America, Morris.
Yeah. And then, but everyone in Maine is, everyone cool and independent and gun owners, but they also like abortions, but they're outdoorsy. Like they're, and this is what happens when when Morris Couch tries to be that. So then we get the article. Then we get an interview from Jake Tapper. Then we start to get all of the official rape stuff. I'm not going to go into what happened. We all know what happened. And then he doesn't resign for like a little bit. And last night he releases the 11-minute non-apology resignation video where he basically says that he wants to stay in. I want to point that out. He essentially says, I want to stay in, but the establishment, Jews, the Democrat machine, women, the political campaign structure, Jewish black women. Like they all are conspiring against him. He can't get election data. He's not going to get the funds needed to continue advertising or whatever. And he blames everyone he blames the machine on the fact that he can no longer do this campaign. And that is why he is dropping out, because he has no ability to do this campaign anymore. That is why.
The
He says it's a lie. Structure is why it kept me. You watched this. You have probably broken this down more than any other person that I know. What talk to me about this video?
I actually last night did like a reaction video, so it'll be out by the time this podcast's out. It'll be on Betches News YouTube, and where I like cut through his responses. It's 11 minutes, and he just looks furious the whole time. Like the whole thing is blaming it on like the establishment, like they don't want us to be in this race. And it's like they didn't live your life, as you say, do all these things and then lie about it. And he is someone who is allergic to responsibility. He is not, honestly, like there wasn't really 11 minutes worth of content. It was like 5 minutes worth of breathing and 5 minutes worth of talking. And he just he's like, I didn't even want to be in this anyway, but like, you can't make me leave. It's like, do you want to be in it? Or it's like, maybe you shouldn't have gotten so attached to the idea. You said you didn't want to do it.
He's annoyed at all the Jews that led him into this position, to be honest. Right.
Which also gives like the fact that it's like Daniel
Jews
Morat,
that got him here.
Right. We should talk about the vocal fry video, because the Wall Street Journal interviewed his consultants and they knew exactly what to ask. They asked about like how they found him, how did they vet him, if at all, and it seems like they didn't. Like they thought that was like a hilarious prospect that you should vet the candidate.
I saw that they spent $6,000 on vetting.
Yes.
Which is, first of all, out like there, I want to point out,
which is the like price.
You know, Sammy, I don't know if you know this, but we've actually, New York Times recently started a Patreon. And I'm going to add a level where if you pay me $3,000, I will look into whoever and tell you if they hate Jews or not. I can't speak to any other group or demographic out there. $3,000, the New York Times will tell you if the candidate you're thinking hates the Jews.
That is so funny. You could probably do a better job than they did.
Because I have Google. Because I don't understand. There was no vet job. There was no vet job. I'm sorry, but they didn't do a vet job. They just did not do a vet job. They thought that they would be able to overcome all of his flaws. I think when they found out about I think that they knew all this stuff was coming, but they didn't care because they thought that they could just get over it. If we just get to the election, if we get to the primary, if we get to the election, then all will be fine and all will be forgiven. And then also keep in mind, Morris Katz, 27 years old. His consultants, also very young. These are people who think that they are invincible, that have to be taken down a peg, that have also been on an incredible tear. Morris Katz has had an incredible year of being in the news and getting to yell at interns without any repercussions at all. That stops, unfortunately, now.
On Mamdani's back. Let's be real.
No, literally.
He is look, I just want to draw an analogy to the Pod Save guys and Obama. It's like, you have a generational political talent. Like, let's not pretend like you are this like shepherd when you're basically you're attached to someone who is incredible and you are writing their name, which is fine. But like, let's not pretend that this is like all you. It's not like you did it once, you did it twice. Like it's you're riding the wave.
Also, I'm sorry, but he's not a design guy. And I think that is very belittling when people say that it was like font and stuff like that. But like aesthetics was the cool parts and the sticky stuff of Mamdani's run, and like why Daria Lisa won, to be completely honest. Like I thought Daria Lisa's ad campaign was phenomenal. She's an anti-Semitic piece of shit, but like her commercials were great. Like he's very good at picking whoever knows Canva the best, but that's not him.
I mean, Mamdani's mother is a like very good filmmaker. Like it doesn't surprise me that he has an eye for aesthetics. Like I think this idea that like they made Mamdani, like no, Mamdani is something else. Like I don't think, like when people bring him up as like an example, it's like, no, that's not the Democratic Party. That's not the norm. He's not like, yes, you can use him as an example for something, but like don't try to analogize him to like anyone else.
Yeah.
Platner also, I think, has this very aesthetic. This is what these children believe. That
Yeah.
if you get like a white working man who has this like farmland, down home aesthetic, they're basically looking for like people wearing flannel in whatever country, whatever county they find their way in. They're
Yeah.
like they're carpetbaggers is really what it
Yeah.
is. Like,
They were looking for Ron Swanson. They want political Ron Swanson.
yes,
They want the brawny man in a suit.
because they think that because they are so far from actual working class people that they think it is an aesthetic, like that you can just find these people hanging out at gas stations and not like it's and like this idea that like because he's working class he has all these skeletons in his closet. Like plenty of working class people like don't like
Rape
or their
people.
skeletons are like much more mild. Like maybe they made comments on Reddit but they weren't talking about raping corpses. I don't know.
Do you think, out of curiosity, do you think that Graham Platner to this point thinks that he did the things that he did? Or has he convinced himself? I think that he's convinced himself that he's completely innocent in all of this stuff.
Graham Platner to me is a textbook abuser where they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just, he has all the signs of just someone who like has to believe they're a good person. And so will always maintain that illusion to themselves to justify like, oh, I have PTSD. It's like, okay, lots of people with PTSD don't inflict that in the way you have on other people. And I think he's in some ways lucky that the country isn't going to get a more full sketch of who he is, because this is the part that really astounds me. It's like you read all the Reddit posts, you see the Nazi tattoo, you hear like the actual sort of perspectives, like the actual politics that he has. And it's like, oh, I see exactly. You're like an edgelord who, like the idea that you would get the Nazi tattoo and not actually know what that was is so out of sync with everything you say about yourself. Cause you're not like an idiot frat boy who like, you're not like a dumb frat boy. Like you fancy yourself an intellectual. You think that you're like a down home man of the people. Like you're not like a guy who's like sports betting, and you're not like Dave Portnoy,
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to be, I think he also, once again, was very unprepared for like public spotlight or like to have like an internet life. Like I don't think he had followers before this. I don't know. This is I don't know. This is a guy that got really high off the smell of his own fart because he was told that he is like the next god, and I think is like dealing with whiplash from wherever the hell this is happening. And I don't think that he will ever reckon with it. I think that we are going to see the redemption arc. He is either going to do one of three things. One, he's going to kill himself, and I say that very seriously. He is an alcoholic, military vet who is having having the worst week of. I do think that there is that. I would be shocked if he's not on some sort of whatever.
No, I think this is a man who likes himself far too much.
Because I think then the number two of this is where that doesn't happen, and he ends up trying a redemption arc, which is inevitable. And we are not done with him. I promise you that he is going to be running for office as an independent somewhere. He is going to start his YouTube show. He's going to become best friends with Candace Owens. He is going to we know where the arc is going. We know he's going on to OAN. We know that he is going to start to welcome to the Graham Platner hour with Graham Platner. It's happening. And there's a huge, massive empty hole that Alex Jones recently vacated that Graham Platner is perfect for. Graham Platner is going to be selling medical dust and camo gear and diabetes pills and liver toxicity, whatever. It's inevitable that this is happening.
Listen, that's like what he should do. He's going to make a lot of money doing that. And like, from what I understand, he has a $200,000 mortgage on a $205,000 house that he owes his dad. So he could probably pay that back real quick if he starts a YouTube. That is what he should do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
that is, by the way,
but like, that is what like technically he should do, because his whole goodbye video was very like, I'm going to harness this energy. Yeah. I don't think he should. Look, if I'm him, I don't think that's what he should do. But like, he would have more power if he didn't do that. But like, I don't want to be dealing with this man. I would like to not think about him anymore. But
yeah,
I don't
If he
think
was,
that's gonna be.
no, he had a taste. He's gone for the rest of his life. He'll be trying to undo whatever this was. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he ain't done yet. And I will say a nice funny thing about this is probably like, we're going to wrap up in a second. The oyster farmer part of it, he's got one client and it's his mom. He
Yeah.
was given an oyster farm. She has a nice restaurant. And at the end of the day, he was even cosplaying a lot. You had Morris Katz cosplaying as a woodsy, folksy Mainer. Then you have Graham Platner, who was handed this oyster farm with his mom's fancy oyster restaurant, pretending to be a salt of the earth, a briny salt of the earth everyman who made it on his own. And at the end of the day, even he was a sham person. He was a sham person with sham person problems.
And you know what kills me about this is that, like, I was saying this after the tattoo came out. I was like, "I'm done." And I took so much shit for that. And, like, I was just like, "I'm waiting. I know this I see this man, I see who he is, and, like, you're kidding yourself if you think that he doesn't have, like, a string of things." We've now
Mm-hmm.
seen he does. Um, but the thing that, like, really kills me is that he is like the biggest coastal elite fail son. He's just downwardly mobile. He's not actually working class. That's the difference. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, these rich kids saw a downwardly mobile, charismatic, deep voice guy and were like, that's working class, because they could
Yeah.
relate to him because he isn't really working class because he went to fucking Hotchkiss. And then he's
Yeah.
like, I've never been around money or power. It's like, you went to private school. I'm
And
sorry.
they can't
And
find,
also,
they
it's
can't,
like
yeah.
that he didn't use the tools of his actual story, which is like his grandfather had this. His grandfather is a very famous architect, Warren Platner, on Wikipedia. He invented a chair that is sold by Knoll for like $8,000, the Platner chair. And it's like, you could have a story that's like, oh, you come from a family that has like this great American story, like iconic Americana design. And it's like, you are struggling because small towns have been chewed out. You got sent to war, you got PTSD. But don't be like, I've never been around money or power. It's like, no, I should be in a good position. And yet I am living a precarious life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's like, you could use your story and you seem honest, except you don't because you're fucking lying.
Yeah. I got one more question. I want to wrap up here.
Yes.
What happens to the Democrats now, Sammy?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I think honestly, like in 2028, what will inevitably happen it'll be like a shitty primary, but I think that people are going to coalesce around John Ossoff in a pretty like solid way that it almost might like quiet stuff down. But there's gonna be a lot of fighting. There's gonna be I think if the Democrats win the House, we have to see what happens with the election because like what's Trump going to do? But whatever
Yeah.
happens there, it's like you're going to have the 3, 4 DSA people who are like going to be like the new squad, and you're going to be hearing about them all the time. And it's just going to take away. We're going to basically have, I think, like we're going to repeat, I think, like 2021 through 2023, kind of
Mm.
in the next year.
I mean, this is the first time that it's not they're the DSA, but there's the first time that like that the ultra hard left have a flaw that the center left can point to in recent history and say, you guys fucked up. And this is the first time, as someone that is, center left, whatever, we share very similar politics. This is the first time that I'm really able to look at that universe and say, you guys fucked up really bad and you're continue to fucking up. And we'll do this over and over and over. And this is the first time because they were new. This new wave is brand new. This is the first time that they've really screwed up. And
Right.
it's we haven't
Well,
had
it's
that
like,
before.
yeah, I mean, I think that like this is the first time where it's like the person they put forward and defended really, really was wrong and was
Yeah.
like a fraud. Because in all these other situations, it can be like, okay, well, like that's who the people voted for, and it like is. In this case, they tried to put a fraud forth and like pull one
Yeah.
over on you. And in all the other situations, they like didn't really.
Yeah, I mean,
And
not
they
yet.
didn't know
No,
who'd win.
no,
It's like,
no. Sorry, they did. I'm sorry, they did. We got candidates that were flawed. Daria Litsa is flawed.
no, I said fraud.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said flawed. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
they're
like,
all frauds. Yeah, yeah,
but you know
yeah.
who that is. Like, the
Yeah.
people know who she is. It's not like she's fundamentally lying about, like, her entire past as Graham Platner has.
But the defense of the stuff that she had said, like, I don't know. I
No, I
now
wouldn't
am,
defend that, but
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
the thing with that is, like, it's New York, and you have the mayor of New York who did these endorsements and mobilized him, and it's not like there's anything the center left or, like, the incumbents were really offering. So, like, I chalk that up to, like, dynamics
No,
rather
but I'm
than,
talking. But
like, yeah,
I'm saying deeper. It's like Melos Kiros, for instance, the lady, the insane lady in Denver, and
yeah,
like, we're having all these random candidates that are like popping up. It happens to be the two bigger ones were Chevalier and Valdez, in our area, but they are popping up like randomly around. Platner was that also. Platner is it's the exact same thing, right? Like, where he popped up. There's now an ability to look at these candidates and say, like, hey, it is actually very immature, and it is a sign of potentially bigger problems if you're running someone that that has this, because now there's no denying that if there is this, if that someone has a big massive flaw, you can't just ignore the flaw. Like, we're at a point where the flaw is going to come out, and it's a question of, do we stop it now or do we stop it later? And this is the first time that we're able to look at that universe of people and say, no, this is a problem that you did, and we're going to do it again in this time that we're talking about this now. That made sense.
yeah. I mean, I think
Okay.
there's, like, it's also, like, local. Like, there are lots of center left people who do win over, like, John Hickenlooper beat the, progressive. And even with, like, the example with Colorado, like, Phil Weiser beat what's his name? Bennett for governor.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not Phil Weiser, like, worked for Clinton and Obama. Like, he's not a lefty. Like, he's also, I
Well, they
would say,
don't.
like, his politics are, like, in our realm as well. The thing is, he's not an insider. And so, like, there's these dynamics that are not actually about the people's politics. It's about, like, their positioning. And I think you see how, like, Mallory McMorrow kind of got screwed with that, because it just had to be, like, all the way in versus all the way out. Like, when you're someone like Mallory McMorrow, who's probably also in this realm with Phil Weiser and, like, us, you don't have this, like, it's more about, like, the positioning that screws you rather than the actual ideology, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Okay, wait. Let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Sammy, any last minute stuff you wanna say out there? Any last minute hope? And by the way, this has been a very funny. You're in New York. I can't believe last night. I just want to say I found out about the Graham Planner stuff literally walking on a beach in Tel Aviv.
Oh, he'd be so mad to hear that.
He would be furious, and there was such a funny moment of, like, he's got to come out here. Clavicular is here.
Why?
Clavicular is in Israel. He's like doing tours. He's like touring Israel right now. No, like, he's like debating people here, I think. Like, he's here to, like, debate.
With who?
I know. I'm gonna find out. Some
He's
Israeli.
anti-Israel, I assume.
He's big anti-Israel. Or he's big.
No,
he's Graham Platner. Listen, he's a Graham Platner Democrat, in that there's video online of him heiling Hitler. Oh. But does that mean he hates the Jews? No, I'm joking. It does.
No, he's Graham Platner before Graham Platner grew up.
If I'm clavicular, I'm actually running for mayor in somewhere right now. I'm trying to use. Yeah, I'm running for mayor of Tel Aviv. This has been the New York Times. Sammy, do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh, listen to the morning announcements. Follow me on YouTube if you want to see me breaking down Graham Platner's and Morris Katz's interview. Check out Betches News and my YouTube. And morning announcements. I'm putting the show on YouTube now. It's video every day. It is such a time, but please watch. You get your news in 10 minutes and you never have to think about it again after that.
Look at that. You get to go on with your beautiful day. You get to go and walk the beach where you are. I don't even know what's happening culturally in America right now. The Hailey Bieber milkshake, is that still a thing?
No,
I've only been here for 3 weeks.
No, Taylor Swift's wedding,
I can't believe I missed the wedding.
I
can't believe I missed the wedding. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the New York Times, the YouTube, the Spotify, all that stuff. Also, we have a Patreon. Delivered to the Patreon. We are trying to make this a little bit. I need help, man. I need to take a nap at some point. Aside from that, I gonna be in Phoenix in August, and then I'll be in Boston in September. So check out those dates on my website. And aside from that, I like to end every episode by yelling this thing that my roommate yells every episode that we end, and it is just, if I just yelled a racial epithet right now, I'm joking.
I thought you were going to say L'chaim.
Yeah, L'chaim. No, it's Barstool.